today. So just going through a few financial calculations and then one or two other ones just to focus on that as well. Okay, but mostly the financial maths components. Okay, so let's start off with this. So let me just get. Okay, so the first one that we're looking at is looking at something that is compounded monthly. So need to use some kind of compound interest, but let's look at the question. To travel overseas, Mr. Leto borrows an amount of money. It should be after 20 months, he pays back a once-off amount of 15,000. How much did he borrow if the interest rate is 13,000 per annum compounded monthly? Okay, so what I normally do is to say, okay, let's just check after 20 months, he pays back 15,000. Then we want to know how much he borrowed if the interest was 13% per annum compounded monthly. Okay, so we basically need to work out what is the present value. Okay, so we can use our financial calculators. I'll also just show you guys the formula that we will use so that you have that on hand as well, because you are allowed to use the formula page, and then you're also allowed to use financial calculators. Okay, so the formula that we will use is just for compound interest, where we need to work out present value. So it is also on the formula page that you have. So it is the present value is equal to S over 1 plus I to the power of N. Okay, so let's also just write quickly down all the things that we need to put into the calculator. So we have the future value, which is that S of minus 15,000. So minus 15,000 will be put in the calculator. In the formula, it will be the normal 15,000. We will have the interest rate of 13%. Then we have it as 12 times per year because it is monthly. And then we need to get the total periods, that is 20. So I will work out now what the N should be. But also, if you quickly check how we would have put it in the formula is the 15,000, and then you will divide by the interest rate divided by 12 because it is monthly, and that would have been to a power of 20. So let's quickly check. This would have been 1,666. So that would be your number of years. So 12 times per year. So that will give us quickly put that again. So let's start 15,000. Future value, 13% interest. Then we have 12 times per year. And if you look at the period, it is 20. And then our present value that I get out of this, and let's hope it is that answer, it's 12,092,06. Okay, so there should have been a comma there. So again, the paper-based is a bit blurred from what we got in the previous exams, but there we have the 12,092.06. Okay, so very important in this one, we are looking at compound interest. We've got a future value. We will need to work out the present value. So on your financial calculator, these are the things that you need to put in to get the present value, but also if you used the formula, you will also be able to get that. So once again, use whichever one you're most comfortable with using, because again, we know that in the exam, when you are under pressure, so best again to use the one that you're most comfortable in. In the end, they just want you to get to the right answer. They're not going to look at the method, how you got to that answer. Okay, so this one was basically looking at a compound monthly calculation. So let's hope there's a simple interest as well, but we'll only see that as we work through it. So again, let's just read what is in here. Sea Salt Restaurant borrows 100,000 for 5 years from a bank to upgrade its premises. The bank charges at 12% per annum compounded monthly over 5 years. What is the equal monthly repayments? Okay, so in this one, we see they borrow upfront. So present value is minus 100,000. Then the interest rate is 12% per annum compounded monthly. It is for, so let's just do the monthly because that's 12 times a year, just like the previous question. It's over 5 years. So there's going to be 60 payments. And then we need to work out what is our monthly payments. So we will need to work out what is the PMT. Okay, if you again wanted to use a formula, the formula that you would have used is to work out recurring premium, and we've got the present value. So the formula that we would have used, it's also in your formula page. It would have been the one with the present value. So it looks something like this. So if you wanted to use that, again, there is the formula for you to use. and when that all of that is in brackets. Okay, so that would have been the formula. So let's quickly check when we work it out. So it's a present value of 100,000. We will end up with 0 future value because you've paid off the loan. So if you want to put that in, I normally do, just to make sure that my computer does not mess it up. 12% interest per year, 12 times per year for 5 years. So that is 60 periods. And then if we say PMT, the value I get is 2224.44. Okay, so 2224.44. What I also normally do is I'll check, okay, what is 100,000 divided by 60? So 100,000 divided by 60 gives you, so I'll normally just do a test to say, okay, what is 100,000 divided by 60? So that is, if there was no interest paid at all, then I would have needed to pay back 1,666 Rand per month. Okay, so then I look at this and I'm like, okay, so if there is coming interest onto that, it needs to be one of the other two answers because it won't be a number lower than 1666. So basically, I have two answers that I need to pick between. Okay, so this is just for me a simple test to say your full amount that you borrowed divided by the number of months, get the value for that, and then at least I know that the minimum I will need to repay is 1,666, so that two of the answers will not be in any part of the answers there. Okay, so let's go to the third one, and the third one was also looking at a bit of a loan, I think. So Jonty wants to buy a new truck that cost 350,000. And when they say the bank lends him 80% of the price of the truck. Okay, so the bank only gives him 80% of that. So the bank gives him 350 times 0.8. So the bank actually only gives him 280,000. So that is the loan that he is taking out is only 280,000. Then they say that he is taking out at, so we can say that is the present value. He's taking that out at the interest rate of 11%, compounded monthly. So we know it is 12 times per year with a term of 7 years. I always miss that if I don't write it out in numbers. So 7 years, that would give us 84 periods. The rest of the money will be paid by Jonty as a deposit. Okay, so they basically want to know what is his monthly payments. Okay, so we're going to do exactly the same as in the other one, but let's also check just 280 divided by 84. So the minimum that he will pay, 280,000 divided by 84. So the minimum that he will pay is 3,353. So already I can see that option 3 and 4 will fall outside of that. Okay, so we do exactly the same as the previous question. So we will use exactly the same formula. So present value of minus 280,000, zero future value because your loan is paid off, 11% interest, 12 times a year for 7 years. That gives us 84 periods. And then if we work out the PMT, we get 4794.28, which is option 2. Okay, so very similar. I think if you put in the 350,000 as your present value, that then you get the 5992.85. So that would be for the whole 350,000. You will get option 1. Okay, so important nearly that in this one that we need to remember we're not taking it from the 350. We need to make sure that we take the deposit away, and then from that we work with the rest of the 280,000. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Let's check what the next one is about, and I will make it bigger. Let's see if it is nearly the same. Okay, no, so let's, Lunwabu estimates you will need 10,510 months from now to replace his computer. Okay, so 10 months from now, you will need 10,500 that is 10 months from now. He invested 8,500 for this purpose 3 months ago. So 3 months ago, he invested 8,000 for this purpose at 11.5% compounded monthly. The amount that Lunwabu will still be short 10 months from now is equal to. Okay, so we basically want to know that 8,000 that was invested 3 months ago, 3 plus 10 is 13 months at 11.5%. How much is it worth at this stage? And then subtract the two to see what we need. Okay, so for the PMT, it's the financial calculator, or if you then use the formula that you need to use this formula to do the calculation. So there's no other way of the multiplication to get to one of the answers. So you will need to use the financial calculator, or you will need to use for the PMT. If you have a present value, you use this formula. It is also on. I think I shared the formula page on the WhatsApp as well, but I will share that after the session again, that you guys have it at hand. Okay, is there some of the financial obligations, maybe an example that you can share in this chat, when I can add it, or you can post a question later on the WhatsApp group as well. Then we can look at that as on the WhatsApp group, or if you have one that you can post now, unless there might be one coming up still. So let's just make sure after those. Okay, so this one, then we actually can just use your compound interest formula. So if we want to work out the future value, we've got the present value, which is the 8,000. So we can use this formula, or we can use the calculator. So let's use the formula and see. Yes, it is possible that the question can ask you to work out the present value, but then it needs to give you that monthly recurring. Yeah, so that can also happen, that it asks you to work out the present value, but then the only thing that will change on your financial calculator is that this one is what you will calculate, but then they needed to give you the PMT. Okay, so let's check this one. It was 11.5% monthly, and that is then to the power of 13 because of the 13 period. So let's look, 0.115 divided by 12 plus 1 gives us 1.0096. If we then do exponent that to 13, we get 8,000 times 1,132. So if I work this out, I get 9056.04. 9056.04, but I want to know the difference. So I want to know how much we still need, so it's 10,500 minus 9,056. So that gives us what is short is 1443.96. 1443.96, option 1. Okay, so this one a bit different where, and again, it's, I like to draw timelines and things like that just to make it a bit easier. So if you guys see the timeline, it it just made it a bit easier to get to that answer a bit simpler, because now you can see how many periods it needs to be and those kind of things. And then basically what you needed to do in the end. And unfortunately, there is a one for the 9056, so it might be that one nearly steps in that trap because you're working out and then you see one of the answers that you're actually getting. So yeah, and then from there we go into the calculation that you need to subtract the two. Okay. Okay, so this is probably again, okay, this a bit different. So I think I will get one of the obligations questions, or maybe just look at if something is posted on the WhatsApp, because most of these are compound interest. Let's just see. Most of this is interest calculations. So I will check for something else that we can put in here. Okay, so let's just make sure about all the compound interest questions and those things that you will also get. So you've deposited 4815 into account that earns 9.75 interest per year, compounded half yearly. At the end of a period of investment, you earned 2231.48 in interest. What is the number of half years rounded to 2 decimals in which the money was invested? Okay, so let's quickly see. So again, so this is slightly different to the previous ones, but still we're able to work it out. So let's just check. That will be n times 2 because it's half year. Just remember that when we get to these answers. So we've got the present value, which is 4815. So we can also use a financial calculator. So that will be your present value. We've got the future value in a sense, because they said we earned 2231.48. So 2231.48 plus the beginning value of 4815.00. That will give us our future value. So that's where we started off. That is what the interest was. So if we add the two, we get to what our future value is. So the future value is 7046,48. We have our interest, which is 0,0975. That is divided by 2 because it is half yearly, and that is times n to the power of 2. Okay, so let's use financial calculator, and then we will also work it out without a financial calculator. So future value is 7046.48. Present value is 4815. There is no monthly payments or anything, so that's 0. Then our interest rate is 9.75. We have it for 2 times a year. So if you then press your N, you will get N is equal to 8, which you see is there. But then if you need to work out how many half years there are, it will be 16 half years. So that is the important thing that comes in. So it will be 8 years, but because that 8 is in years and they want us to get to how many half years there are, we need to say 8 times 2, which gives us 16 half years. Okay, so a bit of a catch in this one, because of this, where they said to us it is in half years, and your answer needs to be in half years. So how many half years? So it is 18 years, so it will be 16 half years that we are working with. Okay, if we've done it via the formula, then what we would have done, so let's just quickly duplicate this. So if we've done it where we said we're going to use the formula, then we would need to first move this component to this side. So we would need it to say 7046.48 divided by 4815. So we will get on the left hand side 1,4634, and then on this side it would be, and let's just quickly work that out, 0,0975 divided by 2 plus 1 is 1,0488 to the power of 2n. Then what we normally do, what would we do to, if you were in this situation that you need to now simplify to get to that n, what would you have done to get rid of that 2n, or to bring that 2n as exponent down into the formula? What would you have done? Let me quickly just ask that before we go on to the next one. So what we needed to do is to basically take log of both sides. So then that 2n will move to the front, and then we need to say ln or log of 1,4634 divided by log of 1,0488. So let me just quickly check that. So 1.4634 log divided by 1.0488 log. So that would have been so let's quickly check if I now made the correct assumption here. So that is 7.99. Okay, so let's quickly see that is correct. S2n, let me just make 100% sure when I look at that formula. Okay, so if we look at 2n, then it would have been something different. Then I get, so you guys must quickly check for me if this is, then n is actually 4. That can't be. So is n 4, and then that is 8. So is it correct that there is the 2 there? Okay, what would you guys have? If you've done this with the formula, what would you have done in this instance? Because if I look at a question like this, it might be something that you guys can get tomorrow. So what would you have done if this was something you had to do? Would you have gotten to this answer and then said there you need to divide by 2 to get 4, or would you have Hi guys, can you hear me again? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, cool. I'm back. I don't know what happened to it. Kicked me out for a reason. So let me just get back onto it. And can you guys see my screen again? Okay, cool. Okay, I don't know what happened to it. So I was speaking to to nobody. So you guys couldn't hear me. So yes, so Um, it is definitely, like you guys said, 8, but then just remember, because it is 2 times a year, that we still need to times 2. Let me quickly see if I can share the um, that formula sheet here also on the group. If not, I will. But let me do it now so that it is here as well. Then we know you can access it. I just quickly want to check if I have it still in a WhatsApp group, then I quickly copy and paste it. So let me quickly just check while we are busy with this. Otherwise, I will see if I can send it onto the group a bit later. Okay, I will just resend it. No, I also got 7,99. So I also got 7,99, but when you basically convert to the closest number, so I also got 7,99. So it's all depending on how much you basically round off and those kind of things. So they're not going to give you an answer of 8 and 1 of 7,99 or anything like that. So it won't be that you need to make a decision like that between two numbers because of rounding off. Okay, so let's look at this one. Louis has an obligation to pay a sum of 7,000 in 4 years from now. So 4 years from now, his creditor permits him to discharge the debt by paying 2,000 in 1 year from now, and then a final payment of X in 3 years from now. The interest rate charged on all accounts is 11% per year, compounded quarterly. This is represented by the following timeline, with the debt above the line and the payments below. Okay. Hmm. Okay, this is interesting. Let's see how would I have done this. So that's 4 years from now. His creditor permits him to discharge the debt by paying. Okay, so I would probably, let's see if that will work. Unless you guys have an answer. But I would probably have said work that 7,000 back so that we get a present value. Then, so that we can maybe do. So that's just one idea. Then we know in a year's time it will pay back 2,000, and then a final payment in 3 years. So we can say the interest component, can say everything else. So let's, or we can move that to that period maybe. Okay, so there's a few ways that we can do this. So it will be interesting to know which one is going to be all right. And so I would rather have said how much is that 7,000 at this period. Then we know we've got a 2,000. Okay, so there's two ways we can do this. Okay, so let's quickly, so to find out what that present value of a 2,000 was, we can move that back, so we can get the present value. Then we can work out that present value to that side. So if we subtract, then we can have a present value of that 1/3 years. So then we can work out the x. So that's one way. The other one is, and I don't know if I can assume that if I work this back to year 3, that would be my future value of that present value, because I'm not paying it over 3 years. I'm paying it over 4 years. I'm paying it over 3 years. But that they never told us in this. So let's rather do it this way, that we say move the 2,000 back to get the present value. So on the 2,000 we can say present value is equal to minus 2,000. So let's see if this will work. We've got the interest rate of 11%. Sorry, that is future value. We've got n, and they said that was 1 year. I'm going to take out now all those scribbles so that we can see it. And did they say, so they bring that in as well to make it more difficult. So it is times per year is equal to 4. So let's see if we can get the present value for that. Look, this is quite a difficult one. You guys have 50 questions, and that will add up to 100. So it can be that some of the questions count more marks as some of the others. So I think that is also important nearly when you work out that you check which ones are have a bigger weight. So let's quickly see if, okay, so I get 1794.33 for this. Okay, so let's move this 7,000 backwards. So again, the future value will, so all that change, so let's do it next to this, is the future value is minus 7,000. So that's for one thing that changed. We're not going to move it to there. We're going to move it all the way back here. Interest rate stays the same. N now is 4 years. That stays the same, but now this will become 16, where that was 4. And let's see what is the present value. So 7,000 minus is your future value. Interest rate is still 11%. Still 4 times a year, but for 4 years. Yes, we're taking the 7,000 now backwards. So it's 16 periods, and then my present value for that is 4535, 1197. Okay, so what I would have then done is to say 4535.1197 minus this one, so that we get the one that we need to get that X value. So now we take that, what is left, as your current present value, 2740, and I don't now know if we need to round off, but let's say we round off to 79. So that will be this one that now goes forward for 3 years, still the same interest. Of 11%. Still the 4 times per year, but now N is free. So it will be 12 periods, and then we need to get the future value, and let's hope one of those is answer. Okay, so 11%. Then free N, so it's 12 periods. And then my future value is 3795 10.40. Let's hope there is a 3795.40. Okay, so that is really a lot of work for, if it is the same number of questions. Oof. Or some number of marks. Okay, so what we needed to do, and let's just quickly recap this, is I will, and I now did that in the middle, but I'll start and say the first thing is to move this 7,000 backwards so that we can see what that present value is. Okay, so that is what we did here to get this present value. Then the next step is they give us the 2000. So move that back also to what the present value is. And then what is left, we have as a present value, that was the minus 2740 that we need to then project into the future to work out a future value over 3 years. Okay, so definitely not the easy one. And that is nearly how all these types of questions are going to be if you look at the obligation, because they're basically going to every time move the things around. So by moving those numbers and periods around, so luckily this one they gave us at least a picture as well, to nearly see how it is done. But if I don't give a picture, also draw it for yourself, because it because of all the steps, it's nearly very difficult to just see what needs to be done from the start. And you guys also saw now how I first looked at, okay, this might be, and then you nearly get yourself in the thought process, okay, what is actually possible with the numbers? What can you do? And then what is the easiest method to get to this number that we're looking for? Okay, so I think definitely this one is important, but the only thing that they now nearly can do to something like this is just move these things around. So they still need to nearly tell you what the end value is going to be so that you can move it to the front. They might move this to 2.5 years or move it to monthly. They might move this one to 1.5 year or something like that to create something different. But in the end, easiest is nearly to make sure you've got the present values, and then the present value that's left for that last one that you need to work out the future value. Okay. Okay, so then I still don't have a simple interest for you. So let's first quickly look at, I think we've done now enough of this, of the compound interest, and it's all going to nearly be the same. So let's just see if there's something different. So Freddie needs 17,600 in 3.5 years time. So that is your future value. What amount must you deposit now? So in the end, you need to get a present value. So again, you guys now nearly know this process. He's got that interest rate per year, and then again, we're going to compound quarterly. Just Okay, that is nearly this question. If I'm looking at question 26. Huh. Okay, so let's just quickly write all the things down here for this one, then at least you have it, and I'll write for answer as well. So we've got the minus 17,600. We've got the 3.5 years. So let's just say n is that 3.5. Then compounded quarterly, so times per year is 4. So the periods will be 3.5 times 4. We will set with 14 periods. The interest rate is 8.15%. And then we will get the present value. So I'm just quickly going to do this on the formula. So 17,600 negative is my future value. I've got 4 times per year for 3.5 years. So that's 14 periods at 8.15%. So my present value is going to be 13,270.13. Okay, so for you guys, if you want to check what it's needed, there we have covered it. Question 26. So let's just see if this is going to be very similar. So question 26, a businesswoman wants to invest the sum of money at the end of each quarter for 5 years. The investment will earn 8.5% interest per year. Okay, so we know N is 5. We know times per year is 4 because it is compounded quarterly. In order to have accumulated a total, so in order to get a future value of 30,000, how much is she needing to invest at the end of each quarter? So basically here we need to work out what is the PNP. Okay, so just a bit the other way around, but still we've got future value of the 30,000. Now we don't have a present value, so I would say present value 0, but we don't have a present value. Then again 4 times per year for 5 years, so that is 20 periods, 8.5% interest. Then if we work out our PMT, it's 1219, 4076, and then if we round that off, 41, which is option 4. Okay, just for and that is important for you guys tomorrow as well. Just be very careful with these sums where we've now been lucky that it was 4 times per year, 4 times per year. It was actually also 4 times a year. What might happen in your exams more likely is that you will get a question that has it monthly, and then your next question might be quarterly, then your next question might be half yearly, and then it might go back to a quarterly. So just be very careful in your questions, then specifically when you use the calculator, to just always adjust that, because sometimes I've seen that you get one question monthly, then your next question is quarterly, but if you still has used monthly, there is also sometimes an answer for you. So just be very careful with that difference in quarterly and monthly and half yearly and yearly, kind of. Yes, so your amortization basically goes hand in hand with you needing to work out like this, or the ones that is more alone. So your amortization is basically you working out the monthly payback of a loan. So that so look at amortization the same way as you would look at, it's basically if you have a home loan or car loan or all those kind of things, that's basically amortization in that process. So you pay a monthly premium back. That's what we will work out with a PMT. That's your monthly premium. But as you go along, you will also pay interest off, but your interest is being paid off according to what your outstanding amount is. So after the first month, you paid off a payment. So your next payment is the interest on that is then on the lesser amount. So that is amortization is basically just putting, where was that loan one that we said about the guy that did. Okay, so this would have been your monthly repayment on your amortization. Then if you have had this as a amortization table, and let's just see if I can, let's get a clean one. So remember in your amortization table that 280 of this would have now been where you start off. Then you're gonna have that, and I can't always remember the order of all the things, so excuse me if I get that wrong. I think you work out the interest component there. This would have been the payments over 4794. I'm just going to put that down, 4794. You're going to work out the interest like it is compound or compound interest. Well, on this amount, it's on a monthly interest. This would have been this component minus the interest. So this will be what you've incurred, and this end value would have been then that 280,000 minus that amount. Or if you want to make it easier, and that's how I always look at it, is instead of all these things in between, it's the interest minus your payment, and that will be your new end value. And then that end value will become your new beginning value. So that's how we would look at your amortization, is basically looking at something like this and unpacking it a bit more. Okay, so there was on the group specifically asking, I think this morning, about the straight lines as well and how to identify them. So what I included here is two of the ones that was in one of the exam prep. So I want to move some of these so that we can just get the pictures bigger. Because this is also something that you will get. So you will get a question on the straight lines or the inequalities and those kind of things. Okay, so yeah, they basically ask us, and I just wanted us to basically look at, here's the four graphs or inequalities, and we need to say which one goes with which one. Okay, so what I normally do is I just first check which one is set in the correct way already. So, and by that I mean, if I look at a straight line, I normally look at it as y is equal to mx plus c, or we can put the inequality in there. It doesn't matter. But I want to see which ones is y is equal to. So this one is the first one that I see is like that. The others I still need to change a bit, but this one I can see y is smaller than 3. So yeah, I already can identify that the y cutoff is 3. So when I look at this, I can say, okay, cool, y cutoff is 3. Okay, so that might be one of the answers. Y cutoff is 3, so that might be one of the answers. Now look at that sign. So that sign tells me that it must be smaller than 3, not equal to 3, smaller. So it is the stripe line. So that stripe line actually means it's not including 3. Okay, so those two would be connected, but let's just make 100% sure. So we've got the formula y is smaller than 3 plus a half x. So let's just make 100% sure. So when y is 0, let's see if x is minus 6. So when y is 0, we get 3 plus a half x. So then to work it out, we need to take the 3 to the left-hand side. that is minus 3 is equal to a half x. To get rid of a half, we multiply with 2 on both sides. So x is minus 6. And we can see there x is minus 6. So the line 3 is the same as graph D. Okay, and this is also how we could work it out. Okay, now all of these others, I unfortunately need to change it a bit, but not too bad. So here's 2y. So let's first just write it out here. 2y. Then I'm going to start taking that automatically the x to the other side. That is plus 6. So if I divide everywhere by 2 because I want to get it in the y form, I get y is smaller or equal to minus of x plus 3. Okay, so now we see, again, we've got plus 3. That one is already done. So then the only one that we're left with is that this is graph 1. Okay, and then we can do one of these because then the other one would be the opposite. So let's look at graph 4. Let's just make that and write that down. So 4y plus 2x is bigger or equal to 16. So 4y will be equal to minus 2x plus 16. Okay, another thing that you guys could have picked up here, because it's positive, it needs to be a positive slope. Because it's negative, it needed to be a negative slope. So that's also how we could have distinguished between those two. So here already, because it's negative, that's the only one left that is a negative slope. But let's just make 100% sure. So we need to divide everywhere by 4. So minus 2x over 4 plus 4. So there you can see plus 4. So we know that this one is linked to that. And then that one will be the one that is linked to graph 1. So 2 will be that one. Okay, so that is if you need to identify the graph. So again, this takes a bit more time than the usual one to write out a formula or work out a slope. Okay, so let's look at the last one also, a bit of identification, but here what they gave us was 4 pictures, and here they said to us, we now have, oh, okay, this looks weird. We've got those 3 inequalities, but that looks like that should have been y is smaller than 2 and not there, because there's the y line. Okay, so that is probably minus 4x plus 3y bigger than minus 12, y smaller or equal to 2, 2x plus 3y smaller or equal to 6. Okay, so let's get, that one is the easier one to look at. So y smaller than 2. So this is our y graph, and it needs to be smaller, so it needs to lie underneath. So this still is possible, needs to lie underneath. So that is also still possible, needs to lie underneath. So option 3 is not, because that is not possible and needs to lie underneath. So that one is also still possible because it is below. Okay, then let's look at that one, the green one. So we've got minus 4x plus 3y bigger than minus 12. So again, we want it to look like y is equal to mx plus c. So we'll first keep this 3y, but then the minus 4x goes to the right-hand side, so that becomes plus 4x minus 12, and then we'll divide by 3, so y is bigger than 4 over 3x minus 4. So let's look at where minus 4 goes. So it is this line. So it is that line going through there. And again, it is the one that is that dotted line, because it's bigger than 3 and not including 3. And it's bigger than, so we need to get that component. We need to get that component. We needed to get that. So that one is excluding. So now that falls out. So we basically now sit with option 1 and option 4 as the two possible answers. So then the last one is to look at this formula. So we have 2x plus 3y smaller or equal to 6. So again, want to get it as y is equal to, so the 2x will go to the right hand side and will become minus 2x. So 3y smaller or equal to minus 2x plus 6. Again, if we divide by 3, this is what it becomes. So then we look at where it goes through 2. So we see it is this line. It must be smaller. So there's nothing there. It's above. So that one is wrong. Here we see it is below. So option 4 would be the correct one. Okay, so a bit of elimination between all the answers and all the graphs. Basically, as we go along, we need to eliminate and get to that last one that will be the one that is the solution space that we're looking for. Okay, so that is it, everyone. So I will quickly download the 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 recording for you guys, that if you still want to listen to some of the some of those questions that we just did, that you can relook at it if you want to.